Welcome to the Connect Secure Administration and Maintenance e-learning series. In this session, we will review role mapping for user roles. Now that you have roles defined, we must assign them to our end users. Pulse Connect Secure applies two sets of filters to a user when determining role assignment. The role mapping rules, which are defined as part of the authentication realm, and role restrictions, which are defined as part of an individual role. If the role assignment process results in multiple roles being assigned to the end user, Pulse Connect Secure performs a permissive merge. Thus, if one role denies access to a given resource but another role permits it, access will be permitted for the user session. There are a few specific rules for role merging. One rule is, if you are using Secure Application Manager, Pulse Connect Secure enables the version either Java Secure Application Manager or Windows Secure Application Manager, corresponding to the first role using SAM. If multiple roles use the same version, the SAM settings for all these roles are merged. Another rule is, in the case of user interface options, Pulse Connect Secure applies the settings that correspond to the very first role to which the user is mapped. An additional rule is, in the case of session timeouts, Pulse Connect Secure applies the greatest value from all the roles to the user's session. Another role merging rule is, when merging two roles where a user is mapped to both bookmark roles, one in which bookmarks open in a new window and one in which bookmarks open in the same window, the merged role opens bookmarks in the same window. An additional role merging rule is, when merging two roles where the first role disables the browsing toolbar and the second role enables either the framed or standard toolbar, the merged role takes on the settings from the second role and displays the specified browsing toolbar. An additional role merging rule is, the merged role uses the highest value listed for the HTTP connection timeout. The role mapping configuration steps include create role mapping rules, select merge settings, and reorder the rules. To add a rule, perform the following steps. Step 1. Navigate to Users, then User Realms, then to Realm Name, then to Role Mapping. Click on New Rule. The next step is select the rule basis. The options depend on the type of authentication being used and include username, group assignment, user attributes, and certificate. The next step is then to click Update. This button changes the display to reflect the type of rule basis selected. The next step is then to name the mapping rule. The step after that is to enter the criteria to be matched. In the case of username, it is the user's login name. The options are is or is not. The next step is to select the roles to be assigned to the users matching the criteria. Next, you can optionally make this rule a terminal rule. That is, if a user matches this role, any remaining role mapping rules will be ignored. Finally, click Save Changes or Save and New if you have more rules to create. After creating a rule, you will select one of the merge settings. There are 3 merge options available. The first merge option is Merge Settings for all assigned roles. This allows you to perform a permissive merge of all the valid user roles to determine the overall session role for a user session. Another merge setting option is that the user must select from among assigned roles. In this option, the user is presented with a list of eligible roles and selects the desired roles for the session. The final option is for a user to select the sets of merged roles assigned by each rule. The user is presented with a list of eligible roles selected on a role mapping rule-by-rule basis. The user selects the desired roles for the session. After selecting merge settings, the next step is for ordering. Pulse Connect Secure evaluates rules in the order they are displayed. For ease of management, you should list your rules from most specific to most general, unless you have a specific reason for doing otherwise. For example, if you are using terminal rules. The image shows the process of moving a rule. In this case, our matches all users rule, the asterisk is a wildcard that matches any username, is listed above a more specific rule. To move a rule, select the checkbox on the rules you want to move. Then, use the up or down arrow buttons to move the rules in the list. Click Save Changes to preserve the new order. Now, we will review role restrictions. Pulse Connect Secure examines role restrictions after it evaluates the role mapping rules. The device then examines the list of available roles for any role restrictions that might prevent a role from being assigned to a user. You can use several parameters to determine whether a role will be assigned to a given user. One parameter is through source IP. This restricts from which source IP users can sign in, satisfying the access management requirement. If you choose this option, ensure that you specify one or more IP addresses. Otherwise, no source IP address restriction applies. Another restriction is through browser. This allows you to define browser access control rules. You define a string of characters that must match a substring in the user agent header sent by the browser. You can select to allow or deny based on a string match. Another restriction includes certificate. This restricts access only to clients that have a client-side certificate. You can further restrict access to specific certificate attributes and value pairs. Another restriction is through host checker. This runs a configured host checker policy against the user. If the user does not match the host checker policy, the rule is not assigned. This concludes this Connect Secure Administration and Maintenance e-learning video. For any questions, contact education@pulsesecure.net.